What is the best mobile internet when you're on the road? And how much redundancy do you need if you're traveling across the country?
We just did a 5-month van trip all across the country, keeping track of what worked and what didn't everywhere we went. So stay tuned for some details.
Staying on the path that I've chosen, straight up. Come my way and I'll see you at the top. 'Cause something's gonna happen in this story, and I can feel it coming like the rising of the sun. Straight up.
Well, we just came back from a 5-month van trip. We left here in Sanford, Florida back in August and then returned in January.
And on this trip, we went all the way across the country via St. Louis to seeing the eclipse up in Oregon, went down the eastern Sierras, ended up spending a bit of the winter in Benson, Arizona, where our RV lot is, where we've done a few other videos there, and then back across the south part of the country, including some really remote connectivity challenge spots like Big Bend National Park and Death Valley and places like that. So we've had a really interesting travel year. And we haven't done a whole lot of videos about the traveling, but we've been blogging about it.
Yeah, so go check out the Technomadia blog if you want details on where we've been over the last 5 months. We did a couple lives, I think, from the trip as we went across country, but we just don't film that much when we're in the RV. It's just the way it works out. But anyway, as some of you may know, we run the Mobile Internet Resource Center as our, day job. That's what we do. We track mobile internet for RVers and boaters. And we decided that on this trip that we would record at each location what mobile internet option worked at each stop. And we did this kind of as a case study. We kind of were personally curious as to how much redundancy is still needed if you want to have a reliable mobile internet connection on the road. Yeah, because we advise, carry multiple options. But how important is that these days when there's so many options out there like Starlink and 5G from all the cellular carriers?
Yeah, we carry so many options, but we're trying to pay attention to how often we actually had to pull in to our bag of tricks.
And spoiler alert,
you still need a reserve parachute.
You still need probably multiple reserve parachute. And then when we got back earlier last month, we actually did a rare live broadcast on the Mobile Internet Resource Center YouTube channel, sharing a summary of the case studies. And that's what you're going to be viewing here is a shortened, I promise this is the shortened version.
It's going to be like a crossover event.
And if this sort of topic is of interest to you, do come and subscribe to the Mobile Internet Resource Center channel. Come visit us at rvmobileinternet.com. We have a lot of free content there. And enjoy. Oh. Hi there, I am Cherie.
And I'm Chris.
And we are your host and founders of the Mobile Internet Resource Center, which we started 10 years ago. Welcome into our living room here in our boat, which we are currently docked in Central Florida, where we just got back from a 5-month cross-country van trip.
And so we're going to talk today about the results of that trip, kind of a real-world case study of were we able to keep connected and what actually did we use to keep connected and what worked, what didn't work, and just using this as a real-world example of a trip with keeping her connected as we traveled. And so
what we did is at each stop is we recorded what we used to get online at that stop. Now, this was not a comprehensive head-to-head. We did not test everything that we had at each stop. We did 47 stops. That would have been crazy and taken up way too much time. No. Our goal was what would work reliably enough to get us online, to work remotely, stream entertainment, keep in touch with friends and family, plan our next stop.
Yeah, and actually the ultimate win at each stop would be if what worked at the prior stop continued to work so we didn't even have to think about it. That's the ultimate goal of mobile internet, is when you don't have to think about it, that is a win. But spoiler alert, there was no single universal set it and forget it option here.
Yeah, I was kind of really hoping that we would have more like, what worked last time worked. And it didn't quite turn out that way. So first of all, where did we go? This is an overview of our trip. We left in August, late August, just as the heat and hurricane season was ramping up here in Florida. So then we went across country, and in early October, we went to the Eclipse Fest 23 in Klamath Falls, Oregon. That was our destination for the fall.
And then after Eclipse Fest, down to our, we've got a RV lot at the Escapees Saguaro Park down in Arizona.
Down in Benson.
Yeah, spent 2 months there for Thanksgiving and Christmas, and then back across and going to Big Bend and across the South back to Florida. So
About 8,200 miles over 5 months, and we had 47 unique stops that we made. And these stops were a variety of locations. Some were urban RV parks, very few of them, but we love staying in public campgrounds, so national parks, Army Corps of Engineer parks,
boondocking
state
spots.
parks,
Yeah.
boondocking. We did a lot of harvest hosts, and as you'll see, we're kind of addicted to hot springs. We did a lot of hot springs.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about what worked and kind of keep score across the trip, so you can kind of understand that there is no universal winner. So here's kind of the ultimate score. We're going to go into a little bit of details of what worked. One, was there an unreliable connection? And there were actually 2 places where nothing in our complete bag of tricks
and we
let us
had
get online.
to cancel meetings or
Yes.
move on. So at 14 stops, we were able to just use the same connection that we had set up the last stop. No tweaking necessary. We just pulled in, got online, we're fine, didn't have to worry about it.
Those are happy days. It's like the internet just works. I don't even have to remember what's going on.
4 locations where we could not get a reliable enough connection to work remotely or do the things we needed to do. 2 of those locations, we had to actually cancel business meetings or move to another location. So even with all the options that we're about to show you that we had in our travels, and you'll see we have 1 of everything, actually probably 3 of everything, we still could not get a reliable enough connection enough times that everywhere. It is still a concern. There is no single best mobile internet option. That is the point of this case study. And we were able to go to some places that we have not been able to go into the past because Starlink. Yes. Now, our members have been able to follow along on this entire trip. All these testing notes that I've been making over, I put into a nice spreadsheet. Our members have access to it. If you're one of our MI members who make this all possible, thank you, first of all. And also, you can go to rvmobileinternet.com/case study, and that will take you right to the forum post where we have been documenting this all. And there's a link to the spreadsheet if you want to go in depth on each of the stops that we made and what worked and tweaks what we did.
Yes. Well, now let's talk quickly about the gear that we had in our van that kept us connected. Now, this is admittedly overkill. This is a lot of stuff to put, a lot of connectivity to put in a van. We were capable of bonding and bringing together 11 different connections just because that's our job. We test it and play with all this stuff.
Yes, so if you want to follow along and see links to all this stuff, what the costs are, the specs on it, stuff like that, go to technomadia.com/internet. That's our personal travel blog where we keep this all updated. But the core is we are using a Peplink Max BR2 Pro. Now, this is their enterprise level dual
5G router.
When we left the road in August, it was an X55 based 5G modem. On the way back from Arizona, it was an X62. So the upgraded one, if you don't understand the difference, we have a whole video on that.
Yes. So we've been testing both generations of the BR2 Pro. We've got 2 different 4x4 MIMO antennas that are connected to it for the 2 5G modems. So we've got a Parsec Akita and a Peplink Mobility 42G.
Both of them have 4 antennas going to each of the modems. The Akita is on a pole that we can raise higher, and the Mobility is just on the roof of our Travato van.
Yeah. Also on that pole is InstiConnect, which has got its own integrated 5G modem. So the InstiConnect 4x4 PoE modem that is brand new. That is on the pole mount. So that plugs into one of the Ethernet WAN ports. The Starlink plugs into one of the Ethernet WAN ports. And then we had a whole collection of, actually had 4 different hotspots on board, 5G hotspots, as well as a Peplink Max adapter. So we had a whole lot of different connectivity.
Now, to understand how we use Starlink in our setup. Now, our Starlink is not permanently mounted to our van. We actually have to take it out of the back, which involves moving the bike rack out of the way, opening the doors, getting it out, getting it set up. We usually put on top of the pole. So I should say, he usually puts it on top of the pole.
I could deploy Starlink to the pole in just under 5 minutes. It's setup time, and then you got to wait for Starlink to boot and get online. But we can get Starlink set up to the pole pretty quickly. If we need to set it up other than on the pole, if we need to use the ground deploy tripod, which we still have, it's, we got to run out the cables, and it's a much bigger setup and teardown process. But it's still
we don't use Starlink by default. We only use it when we can't get online with our cellular options. So it is not our default. It is our backup plan because we have extra deployment to go through, and it does use a lot of power. We boondock a lot, and our Travato has we have the Volta lithium battery system in it that can run a lot, but it is a power draw, so we have to compensate for it. So Starlink only comes out when cellular is failing us.
It's our Swiss Army knife thing. And we also had a cell booster in here, and it never really
One.
mattered much. So we
One.
tried it in one place and it didn't even help there. So yeah, okay.
Okay.
Now
All right.
about the data plans.
All right. So we have data
Everything.
plans on all of the carriers. Have a grandfathered in unlimited plan on Verizon that you can't get anymore. So I'm not going to tease you with that. But there are other Verizon options out there. We have the T-Mobile Business Unlimited Internet Plan. This is very similar to the very popular T-Mobile Home Internet Plan, except for it's on business. Same cost, $60 per month, unlimited data, no throttling, always network managed. However, the difference is you can use a SIM card in any device.
So you can use that in a router like the BR2.
So if you
You're
can
not
qualify as a business, we recommend that over
and
T-Mobile
it's
Home Business.
easy to qualify as a
Yes.
business with T-Mobile.
We also carry the Calyx Institute plan, which is the nonprofit. It's an unlimited data plan. You pay annually up front. It comes out to about $43 a month. That is on a mobile hotspot device. You have to use it on that device. On AT&T, we have their Business Unlimited plan. Again, qualified as a business. It's, I think, $65 a month we're paying, and we have the 50 megabit per second plan. So we'll never see speeds above 50 megabit per second, but that's plenty for what we need to do.
It is a 5G compatible plan.
And it is unlimited. We also have a Legacy Unlimited Plus plan and a Mobley plan. And then we have Starlink. Now with Starlink, we choose to keep ours on the residential standard plan, which is $120 per month, but always gives us higher priority data. They call it standard priority data, which is higher priority than the mobile plan, which is what most RVers and boaters pick.
But you can only use this Starlink standard plan at your registered home address. If you're away from your home address, you cannot connect. So that would seem like, how can you use this on a road trip? Well, it's easy because Starlink lets you change your home address just by dragging a dot on a map anytime you want to. So just either before a new location or once we got to a new location, we would just put the dot where we're at, and that Starlink standard plan is working. So it's a little extra setup than the Starlink.
Since we're always doing setup
Yes.
anyway. So we choose that because it gets us a little bit higher data speeds. That matters to us, especially on the
significantly better
upload
data
because we're
plans.
doing broadcast and video work. So we choose it that way. We go through the little extra hassle, but to have the higher priority and the lower cost. If you need to know more about Starlink plans or any of the plans or the current plans out there, rvmobileinternet.com/plan picks has all of our current top pick data plans. And we put a video out on this channel every few months going over all the current topics. They change all the time. All right. So we've broken the trip up into segments, and these are broken up basically how I blogged them on the Technomadia blogs. If you want to follow along, if you want to know about any of the stops, where we went, the places we saw, what we did there, travel tips, stuff like that, go to Technomadia. Each of these segments is documented. All right. So first segment, we left Florida at the start of peak hurricane season and went up to St. Louis to visit family. All along there, cellular just works. Mostly when you are east of the Mississippi, you have higher chances of cellular just working. Now, it might have been one cellular carrier or another that was better. We did have to tweak things quite a bit, but connectivity is pretty easy. Starlink, we weren't even tempted to bring it out because, well, trees.
Yeah, this trip started in summer on the eastern half of the U.S. Parking under trees was one of our top priorities, and so yeah, Starlink was not ideal at all. And was
next segment.
Hey,
this is where stuff starts to get a little complicated. So how I have done these route maps is I put circles around the problem spots. That's what my dentist did when they were diagnosed as which tooth I needed a root canal this week on. So you circle the ones that we had problems with, and then I marked what actually we got to work kind of okay there. So this is leaving St. Louis to the segment going to Salt Lake City.
So the first place that we actually had a significant challenge getting connected was right along the Missouri River at, was it Cooper's Landing?
Cooper's Landing. Great access to the Katy biking trail, which is why we stopped there. They have live music there. We got a nice waterfront spot on the river. It was gorgeous. But there were trees right over, so no Starlink option there. And the cellular there, all the carriers just kind of sucked. I think you got a little bit on T-Mobile.
Yeah, particularly because we had a video call, a video conference.
We were doing the Van Life Summit back in September, so we had a live broadcast.
So we had coverage primarily on T-Mobile, but it's only, even with all of our gear, we're only able to get about 1.5 meg upload, and so we're like, okay, that is not a good option for doing a broadcast. So one of our pro tips is always do some testing before you have important work calls. And we're like, okay, in the morning, we're going to have to leave early and go someplace where we have good signal so we can do this. So we planned ahead. We didn't have to panic when that work call came up, and we're like,
So we left earlier in the morning. We got our bike ride in, left earlier in the morning, and went to a rest stop along I-70, and were able to get online with AT&T only at that location. Yeah. So we used 2 of our connections, bonded them together for redundancy in case there was a dropout, and we had a very smooth broadcast for the Van Life Summit. We went over to Woodland Park, just kind of over the mountain range to the
Forest
South.
Service campground.
It was Forest Service campground. Note the word forest. South Meadow Campground. There,
big towering trees.
again,
Yes.
lots and lots and lots of trees. And we could get Starlink up just enough. I could actually get it. I had a small video I needed to upload.
A different kind of usage. So like doing big uploads or downloads, or sometimes even just streaming, you don't need to have a pure connection without dropouts. But where you're doing a video chat or particularly a broadcast, dropouts are doom. So like if you just set Starlink, and even if the Starlink is down 30% of every minute, an upload will eventually finish. And it may take way longer than normal, but we were able to do that and still get by in this remote meadow with no cellular.
Yeah. And all the cellular, I mean, we could get like a whiff of signal here and there, but nothing that was reliable. So that was one of our problem spots. And then South Fork, Utah, number 9 there. Spanish Fork was just a quick overnight, cute little campground. It was dry camping. We had running trails there, so it was great. But all we could get to work there was AT&T, and it was just enough. I think we were able to stream.
The Starlink, probably there was not so many trees that we could have actually set up Starlink. We had a good enough AT&T to stream. So hey, AT&T for the win there. Yes. Now let's go on to segment 3. Things get more interesting as you get further west.
Okay, this one, Miracle Hot Springs is not a miracle for internet at all. So this is a cute little hot spring area. They have little private hot springs that you can rent.
West of Twin Falls, in very volcanic area. And this is kind of a canyon where the river was carved through.
Volcanic rock.
Yes.
So that volcanic rock blocks cell signal. So as soon as you come down into the campground, there's no cell signal. I don't care how tall we put up our antenna. We could not get cell signal at the campground.
And this was an issue because we actually booked 2 nights there because we were planning like, hey, great, hot springs. We'll get a full work day. And we had a whole bunch of work calls scheduled. And we probably should have done a little bit better homework in advance. And we're also thinking, well, hey, Starlink. But hey, down in the bowl where the campground is, big, thick trees in a lot of directions. And we made a little video because this campground or this hot spring was named of, you'll need a miracle to get connected. Here's a little taste of the frustrations. It's 5 hours now. So yeah, there's, you think it's pretty good. You can see the sky, but pretty big, thick trees every different directions. We tried the Starlink 70, all the different places we could put it.
So you're putting the cellular antenna to our router as well as Starlink on top, trying to get anything we could.
We even tried the cell booster, and we're like, we don't need to. We just walked a quarter mile up the road, got online just enough with our phones, and making a call to say, let's cancel the meetings today. We're not going to break camp and drive away from this hot springs that we booked 2 nights at. We'll just reschedule. Fortunately, those were calls we could, and just made the best of it. And hey, we're stuck in hot springs. That's awful.
Darn. Woe is us. Cry, cry, cry me a river. Yeah. And then we had a really successful trip through the rest of Idaho and into Oregon, by the Crane Crystal Hot Springs in Burns, Oregon. Excellent cell signal there. So if you need hot springs and signal, go right there. All right. We probably should do a guide to hot springs and cell
hot
signal.
Springs with cell signal.
You'll see. We go to a lot of hot springs. All right. And then the destination, the Eclipse Fest outside of Klamath Falls, a gorgeous little area that we were at. Lots of RVers there because it was an organized RVing event. And they parked us right along a line of tall aspen trees that blocked half of the sky. So all of us using Starlink.
And there was a dozen Starlinks there. It was kind of
most
amusing.
of us had significant dropouts. The cell signal was kind of weak there, and it was saturated because there's so many people there using it for a big event. I mean, this was a big event. Smash Mouth played at it. It was a fun event with a lot of friends.
The sun didn't show up though. Yes. The clouds were...
We were able to get online enough. We did have to cover a breaking story there. We were able to do that. But my niece was born while I was there, and I was not able to do a FaceTime with my family from there to meet her. So that's how bad the signal was.
Well, yeah, and again, with Starlink, you'd have a view of half the sky, drop out, and then gone again. So it was the people on the other side of the field had perfect Starlink because they didn't have that giant line of trees. People on our side of the field, particularly
yes, but they had cow patties.
They had giant cow patties. Yeah. So again, we could have moved sites. But, we were here for the Eclipse Fest and for partying, and we had prime spots with our friends, camped in our friends, and we're like, we'll put up with the trees.
All right, next stop.
Let's see. Segment 4.
Oh, lots of circles as you're going down. So we followed basically 395 down the Eastern Sierras. Gorgeous drive, lots of great places to stay.
Lots of being in the middle of nowhere.
And a lot of bad signal areas.
And a lot of places where Starlink really was our only way online. This is where Starlink was so indispensable for us in a lot of locations.
All right, so we decided after Eclipse Fest, we met up with some friends in Susanville. We decided a big town. We both had some work obligations that week. We picked a commercial RV park right downtown, Susanville. And cell signal there was great, but the connectivity was awful. All the carriers just dropped signal all the time.
So, sometimes you get to an urban area and the connectivity is just something like, it might just be the upstream of the town. The town's fiber backbone or something might be miserable. We don't really know. We didn't diagnose what was wrong with Susanville, but all the cell carriers had great signal and were equally awful for actual data. So, hey, pull out the Starlink. Now, I'm not going to fuss with all 4 cell carriers being awful. Starlink, and it was wonderful.
Yep, so we all worked on Starlink from there. And then we went just south of there to another hot spring, Sierra Hot Spring. This one had lots of trees, and it was also a boondocking location. So Starlink wasn't very useful there at all, but we did have enough T-Mobile to keep online. It was a weekend. We didn't do much. We were focused on hot springs.
Yes.
So, but T-Mobile worked just well enough there. It was the only carrier that worked. And then we went just south of there, outside of Mono Lake, is Lundy Lake Campground. Great little campground that is all forested, lots of trees, but some sites have some openings in them. But we were there in fall, and most of the leaves had already fallen. So we were able to get Starlink to work at our site. No cell signal whatsoever. You lose all cell signal once you leave the main highway. But yeah, Starlink, we're able to get online through the fall trees.
The dead spindly fall trees.
Well, they're not dead.
Yeah.
They're just
sleeping.
hibernating.
Sleeping trees.
Hibernating trees.
Yes. So, these are places that with a pre-Starlink era, we would have had to turn around and go back if we had work to do, because no hint of cell.
All right. And then just south of there is, another hot spring. This is Koch Hot Spring, just south of Bishop, California. Nothing worked there except for AT&T. There were a lot of trees. We probably could have gotten Starlink. We moved to a different site, but the site we're in. All right, next stop is a place, Alabama Hills. It is a infamous RVing boondocking spot. Gorgeous rocks. It's a film scene. It is a place we've not been able to stay at before because internet there, the cell signal just doesn't reach through those rocks reliably.
You're in the shadow of Mount Whitney, and it's like one of the most beautiful places on the Eastern Sierra. Incredible. And we were able to stay there with great connectivity thanks to Starlink.
Yep. So Starlink, we were able to stay, I think we did 3 glorious nights there.
Yeah.
Just absolutely beautiful, stunning. Loved it. So this is a place where Starlink allowed us to go somewhere that we hadn't been able to visit in all our other years on the road.
And
then same with the next one, Death Valley.
Yeah, Death Valley National Park has just tiny hints of 3G cellular that are basically there for emergency use only for
phone
responders and stuff. So no usable data, but Starlink means we can be there, work a little bit during the parts of the day, and still get out and enjoy the park. And it was beautiful. So, it is wonderful to have that tool in our toolbox. Mm-hmm. It was absolutely useful.
Yes.
Yeah, wonderful.
Not useless.
Yes.
All right, next stop.
Okay.
So this is like only 2 weeks getting back here to Florida. We just completed this segment.
We spent 2 months in Arizona, and then
And then, so we finally also got to go down to Big Bend National Park, another place that is known for very poor cell signal, but Starlink rocks there. So we stayed in all 3 campgrounds there. Cottonwood gets a little bit of T-Mobile and AT&T signal from Terralingua. Not quite usable at the campground, so Starlink worked in all 3 of the locations there. There's no cell signal down at Rio Grande. End up at Chisos Basin. You do get some cell signal through the window, but it did register as roaming on our routers. So we didn't trust it. We didn't want to exceed our roaming allowances on our plans. Another score, place we had never been able to go before and spend time at. Starlink made it possible. So Starlink definitely increases the places that you can go.
Starlink is an invaluable tool. We think it is worthwhile for RVers who travel, for boaters who travel in places where signal is challenging. It is the thing you pull out when you don't have other options.
And it can be like if you're staying primarily in open areas with clear skies, on a boat or out in the desert, it can be a pretty decent primary option. For us, the way we travel, we like to mix it up. We're in trees. We like to go places where there are other people. We like to go to big events where there's going to be congestion. So on this trip, we did take out Starlink 12 times. 9 of those times, it was the only option that we can get online. However, 3 of those, there were trees and we had
still had a lot of
dropouts.
dropouts. It would not have been good for a broadcast like this. It might have been good for Netflix. Netflix is super tolerant of dropouts and stuff like that.
So consider that how you would like to. There were 13 locations that we were at that had too many trees that we would not have taken Starlink out at all if cellular hadn't been working there, or we didn't have the cellular options.
It would have been miserable Starlink experiences. Even if you get online, it's just too many dropouts to be too worthwhile.
And on a 47-stop trip, that's almost 25% of the locations where Starlink would not have provided a reliable enough connectivity option to work remotely the way we need to.
On the other hand, 34 of the places we went to, Starlink would have worked just great. Now, let's take a look at AT&T. It worked 24 places, didn't work 13.
Now, keep in mind, if we got to our location and something just worked,
we didn't go test everything else.
So this is not saying that AT&T would have only worked at 24 locations. This is saying at 24 locations, we utilized AT&T.
Yes.
But in the places where things were not working and we were testing, there were at least 13 places where AT&T did not work. But there were 3 places where AT&T was the only option for us to get online. Verizon, again, there were 31 locations where we used Verizon in our setup, and there were 11 where Verizon had not usable signal. And there were no locations on this particular trip where we relied only on Verizon. T-Mobile, similar numbers. 26 locations where we used it in our setup, 10 where we could not get it to work, and 1 option where it was our only option.
Only way online. And T-Mobile, particularly in the places that they work, they're the ones who have led with their 5G. So sometimes you can get incredible speeds on T-Mobile, and they've put a lot of money into rural areas in particular. So sometimes it's quite great.
So hope you enjoyed that short clip of our live broadcast over at the Mobile Internet Resource Center. I thought it was a pretty fun video, actually.
It really was. I think we're going to do more lives over there as well as here, kind of focusing on both. So it's kind of fun. But if this is the sort of content that you enjoy, do subscribe over at the Mobile Internet Resource Center YouTube channel. Come visit us at rvmobileinternet.com. And if mobile internet is an important part of your lifestyle, consider becoming a member. That's where we get all of our funding to do what we do over there at the Mobile Internet Resource Center. Our members go further with our content. They get in-depth guides and educational content. They get interactive guidance with us and our team.
They get live forum and events and stuff.
Yeah, we do live webinars with them, Q&As. They get their forums. We have classrooms, and they get discounts with our vendors that can save a lot of money on a lot of the equipment that we covered in that video. And if you do want to become a member, we are offering a $10 off coupon code to our Technomadia fans. Just use discount code Technomadia Rocks, because we rock, as the coupon code when you check out, and you'll save $10 off a new membership over there. We will be back with more Technomadia content. We're gearing up now that we're back in Sanford to set off and resume the Great Loop.
Lake behind us is attached to the St. Johns River, and we'll be cruising down that in just over a month. So we'll be resuming our looping adventures and
probably our coverage of it too, because filming boat video is a lot more fun than RV video. I mean, for us anyway. For us, yeah. So yeah, we're hoping to get more active here on the Technomadia channel. So we look forward to seeing you more often. We create these videos just for fun, and we love having you along for the ride. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, or if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. See you next time.